grasp that, because it would mean like, so it would be like part and parcel of God's story that Adam fell, and that Israel failed, and that Jesus was crucified, and all these other kinds of stuff, right? And that's kind of a difficult thing to wrap your head around, like how, because in that sense, then, which is a different sense in than the direct puppeteering, but it is still a very kind of, like I said earlier, authorship kind of sense. Does that make God somehow responsible for evil? And I would argue no, but I understand where the question comes from, certainly.
Yeah. So Nicholas has sent an email. I'm responding to
Here it comes.
email.
Here it comes.
And you're so I just want to let people know that Kevin is hosting praise on Kevin's channel for the purposes of discussing 2 Peter 2, because Jamie has tried to poison the well and say that 2 Peter 2 says you can lose your salvation. So he's trying to satanically whisper in Praise's ear.
You can lose your salvation.
So that needs to be corrected.
2 Peter 2.
And so Kevin's going to do that, and I will definitely be joining that stream, which is a.
But I understand.
And so Kevin's going to do that, and I will trying to posting praise on Kevin's channel for the purposes of discussing 2 Peter 2, because Jamie has tried to poison the well and say that 2 Peter 2 says you can lose your salvation. So he's trying to satanically whisper in Praise's ear.
Praise.
And so that needs to be corrected.
2 Peter 2.
And so Kevin.
Satanically. Let's read it. Okay. But there were false prophets among the people, even as there shall be false teachers among you, who privily shall bring in damnable heresies. That is, things that you believe that damn you. They'll bring them into what? The church. Before the people. They'll bring in heresies, certain particular ideas that make you damned. Okay? Even denying the Lord that bought them, the biggest and most severe heresy you could possibly imagine, bring upon themselves swift destruction. Many shall follow their pernicious ways. Many will follow their pernicious ways. What pernicious ways? The damnable heresies, the ways they live, the things they teach, they'll believe them. Many shall follow pernicious ways, by reason of whom the way of truth shall be evil spoken of. And through covetousness shall they with feigned words make merchandise of you. This is a warning to you about the false teachers. It speaks of what happens to them. It speaks of what they teach, but it's a warning to you, because their systematic, their doctrine, their claims are damnable, whose judgment now of a long time lingereth not, and their damnation slumbereth not. Damnation. For if God's, so that's ambiguous to whether you can be, just focus on both the false teachers and those who fall prey to them. For if God spared not the angels that sinned, but cast them down to hell and delivered them into chains of darkness to be reserved unto judgment. You got to come to the text without a preconceived idea. If you're asking the question about your preconceived idea, what is the text telling you? You have to be taught by the scriptures, not by your systematic. Spare not the old world, but save Noah. When you're asking these kinds of questions in particular, spare not the old world, but save Noah, the eighth person, a preacher of righteousness, bringing up in the flood upon the world of the ungodly. You mean the by faith, or no, ungodly? Well, you can't do anything but by faith, right? Anything only by faith can you please God. But you still have to. It's by faith that you're changed. Turning the cities of Sodom and Gomorrah into ashes, condemn them with an overthrow, making them an example unto those after who should live ungodly. And deliver just Lot, vexed with the filthy conversation of the wicked. For the righteous man dwelling among them, seeing and hearing, vexed his righteous soul from day to day with their unlawful deeds. Why didn't he leave? The Lord knoweth how to deliver the godly out of temptations. Does that mean you have to be godly before God will help you? No, it doesn't mean that. and to reserve the unjust unto the day of judgment to be punished. This sounds very, see, this is why if you're OSAS, you ought to just admit you're a Calvinist, because they're at least reasonable and they understand. They don't ignore the texts that tell you the righteous are righteous. Okay, not perfectly righteous without Christ. Justification is a different story. Okay, that's what gets you right with God. But chiefly them that walk after the flesh in the lust of uncleanness and despise government. So those are characteristics of them to recognize them. Presumptuous are they, self-willed. They are not afraid of to speak evil of dignities. They don't obey the direction of what God has given. Self-will doesn't mean they don't believe in determinism or they're not Calvinists. It means they find themselves to be whatever they. Oh, jeez. Sorry, I got scared. Something scared me. They are presumptuous in thinking that they speak for God, or that they have the right to teach what they're teaching, but it's their own will. It's their self-will, not the one God has taught or given. Whereas angels, which are greater in power and might, bring not a railing accusation against them before the Lord. But these as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed. Now, see, this is an interesting question, right? This is where Calvinists will say, well, you might say if they're really excited about the determinism, they were made to be taken and destroyed. Okay, but what is made? They from birth are made to be destroyed, to be evil, to do evil things? No. This group that does these things, that group is, foretold to be unto destruction. See, the way people read these verses, they take this and they say, you can run with that idea. Just like, so if you're going to read the verses to be OSAS, read all the verses to be that sort of thing. Like, and you should also say that this means people are made from birth to be destroyed, because that goes along with that part and parcel of OSAS thinking. You don't pick and choose, be consistent. Okay, but these are as natural brute beasts, made to be taken and destroyed. They have the characteristics of a brute. Okay, not that they were born to be brutes. Speak evil of the things that they understand not, and shall utterly perish in their own corruption. Willingly ignorant, you could say. And shall receive the reward of unrighteousness, as they that count it pleasure to riot in the daytime. Spots they are and blemishes, sporting themselves with their own deceivings while they feast with you, having eyes full of adultery, and cannot cease from sin. Well, shouldn't he say eyes full of non-OSAS, no ragu, and then they cannot cease from not believing OSAS? That might would have helped me a lot with my hard work to believe OSAS. If it said that instead of acted like sin even matters, I don't know why it matters. Well, I mean, we all like jewels in our crown, so I guess that you could matter if you want a jewel in your crown. Which have forsaken the right way, and are gone astray, following the way of Balaam, the son of Besor, who loved the wages of unrighteousness. Oh, the wages of it. That sounds like he liked the outcome of it. Is he a lover of death, or is he a lover of acting in unrighteousness? I wonder. I'm not sure. But was rebuked for his iniquity. Insert non-OSAS for iniquity. Anywhere there's anything talking about any kind of sin, even if it's particular, just go ahead and just put in not OSAS there, because that's what it means. He was rebuked for his non-OSAS, because the dumb ass speaking with the man forbade the madness of the prophet. These are wells without water, clouds that are carried with the tempest, to whom the mist of darkness is reserved forever. That means torturing in fire and flame endlessly, I guess. No, I think it means death forever. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts through the non-OSAS, through much unosasness, those that were OSAS from those who are non-OSAS. Well, they promise liberty, I'm sorry, I'm just joking. For when they speak great swelling words of vanity, they allure through the lusts of the flesh, through much wantonness. Those that were clean, escaped from them who live in error. They allure through the lust of the flesh. They're alluring the others. These false teachers speak of this, and they allure those who were clean escaped from them who live in error. Well, they promise them liberty, like the law of liberty means do as thou wilt sort of thing. They promise them liberty, like, hey, sin doesn't matter. You just get your ragu and call it good. We got sinning to do after all. Well, they promise them liberty. They themselves are the servants of corruption. Or no, because this is a false teacher. So corruption. I wonder if they were teaching non-OSES was a big problem or something. Okay, I'll stop. For of whom a man is overcome, of the same is he brought into bondage. For after they've escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior, they escaped the corruptions of the world. The pollutions. You can't serve two masters. If you're overcome and brought into bondage to Satan, you're not in bondage to the Lord. For if they had escaped the pollutions of the world through the knowledge of the Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, they are again entangled therein and overcome, and the latter end is worse than them from the beginning. It doesn't mean they had gonorrhea and now they have AIDS, but they're still going to heaven. It means they're worse off than before. They're worse in their sins than they were before they knew the way of righteousness, which is only possible through Christ. For it would have been better for them not to have known the way of righteousness than after that have known it to turn from the holy commandment delivered unto them. They turned from the holy commandment. They turned from the holy commandment after knowing it. But it happened to them according to the true proverb, the dog is turned to his own vomit again, and the sow that was washed to her wallowing in the mire. This isn't a warning of losing hearts on your crown or whatever. This is, anyways, as you can see on the screen there this whole time, if you love me, keep my commandments. I think that's true. I think if you love me, you will keep my commandments. I think that's just descriptive. It's a prescription. It's descriptive of the saints who the dragon is wroth with and wants to make war with them for some reason. Or but maybe keeping the commandments just means believing OSAS and having the testimony of Jesus, which I would think if your OSAS means the same thing as having the testimony of Jesus, since OSAS is the gospel. So maybe that's a fun parallelism, and it's just like, hey, just kidding. The saints don't keep his commandments. Of course not. You can't keep the commandments, you moron. Right?
Show what a moron you are. You are still asserting that we should obey the commands as though we can. You can't keep the commandment.
Poor guy needs to get saved.